Thanks for clicking on my video. I hope it's useful to you. This video will show you how to install a solid linkage kit on your TJ Wrangler. This here is a photo of what the linkage kit is supposed to look like. However, I have had to make some slight modifications, which I'll explain to you in part 2 of the video. Hi. About 2 or 3 years ago, I installed a cable shift linkage kit for the transfer box on my Jeep. As you can see, the Jeep's had a little bit of a raise and a few modifications with the suspension and stuff. And the original factory linkage was all out of alignment and was binding. So after looking at a number of YouTube videos and things, I saw that a lot of people were recommending the cable linkage kit. So I bought one of those, and I'll post a picture of the kit that I bought, and eventually got it installed. I did quite a bit of off-roading in my Jeep, and over the time that I've had this linkage kit installed, I've noticed that it is really not that good. It binds up, it kind of tends to seize a bit, get a lot of gear graunching in between shifts, even though the transmission's in neutral, so it shouldn't be graunching. And there've been a couple of times, most notably on the most recent trip that I did, where I actually had to stop and spend about 5 minutes to get it to go from low range back into high range four-wheel drive, and it kind of, I lost trust in it. And you know what it's like when you're in the middle of nowhere. You've got to be able to trust your gear and trust everything that you've done to it to be able to get you home. Now, I was with other vehicles on that occasion, so in the worst case scenario, somebody would have towed me up and we would have fixed it and got on our way again. But what it did mean to me is that I needed to make a modification, or I needed to change things, because that just simply wasn't acceptable anymore. So what I did is I had bought one of these, which is a bell crank style of linkage shifter, and it has these arms. One of the arms has got a little heim joint on it on each end. This bolts directly to the transfer box. So I'm going to do, and I looked and looked and looked, I couldn't find any videos online of somebody successfully installing one of these kits into a TJ Wrangler. There were a number of installs into Cherokees, which I think are slightly different. So while I'm on my Christmas holiday, I thought I would make a video of this install and share it with YouTube. YouTube, been a huge resource of mine, learning how to work on my truck. So I'll show you the close-up of the kit. It's all very solid steel. A really good heavy-duty bell crank lever on here, and these are the connecting rods with heim joints and various bits and pieces. So hopefully you find the video useful, and it might solve a problem that you might be having. So keep watching. First thing we're going to do is put a axle stand under the rear drive shaft to support that, and then drop the cross member here, the big drive shaft support, transfer case support pan, and also you need to remove your front drive shaft. Just undo these bolts up in here and support the front drive shaft. Just gets it out of the way so you can work on the everything up underneath there. Never pretty, but always effective. So one of the reasons that I've got the rear drive shaft supported there is because at some point in the installation you need to actually lower the transfer box and gearbox down in order to give you access over the top to install the bracket required. So one of the things you need to do is remove your front drive shaft at least at the transfer box end, as you can see there. Just trying to tilt that up a bit. Remove that. Because I've got this double cardan, or so do you, have this double cardan joint in here, and mine was overhauled about 5 years ago. I'm probably going to remove the whole drive shaft and get in there and grease that centre U-joint, just to make sure that it's had like a few hundred road crossings and things. So just lubricate that, a bit of preventative maintenance while I'm doing this other job. Kill two birds with one stone. So, anyway, just to do the linkage kit, you just, once you've disconnected this front drive shaft, it gives you much better access up into where you need to be working, and you can just support it with like a ratchet tie down against the chassis frame next to it to stop it from falling on the ground. Anyway, I'll just get on and do that job. This is a pretty slow job. My universals are held on with Allen head high tensile bolts. I don't know why, but there's not really enough room to get a socket in there anyway, so it's just the way it is. The reason I've got the axle stand on a movable platform is because during the removal of the front drive shaft you need to turn the drive shaft, which actually involves moving the vehicle backwards and forwards. So by having the axle stand, which is supporting the rear of the transfer case, having that on a wheel platform enables the whole thing to roll backwards and forwards, as you see there. So quite handy if you've got a movable platform. Don't forget to hook up some kind of support for the drive shaft before you take the last bolt out, or else you might just get really sore knuckles, or even worse, have the universal joint fall off and land on your head. I can imagine that's going to hurt. Just give that a wee gentle prying off the... There we go. That's that end taken care of. As I said before, I'm going to remove the drive shaft off the front as well, just service it while it's off. But in the meantime, I'll carry on. I might get rid of that off camera and then I'll carry on with this. So this is the cable setup that I installed, which I've found to be a bit of a nuisance and really not very satisfactory at all. This is the lever for the transfer case selector. This is obviously the cable. This is the bracket that holds on to the transfer case. It's bolted in two places, and the body mounting bracket, and then of course the cable itself runs across here, turns around and comes back. And I think half the problem is that the cable just gets bound up. It's quite a thick cable, and it just gets bound up on that tight little turn. There's not really any good reason to have it that way. So one of these summer holiday jobs is to change all of this and hopefully improve it. So it's not a job I've been looking forward to be perfectly honest, but thought I'd make a video anyway, and if the video turns out okay, I might even publish it. So I'm going to start off by removing the cable linkage, the cable itself of course, and then the body mount and the transfer case mount So I'll do that and then I'll get back to you once I've had those dropped out. One of the reasons that we want to have the transfer case on a support jack is so that we can actually put the trolley jack back under it and lower it down slightly. It gives much better access up in the back here. I don't know if you can see, but right up in the top there, there's a bolt that's very difficult to get to unless you just lower this by, 5-10 centimeters or something like that. Helps get your hand in there, makes it a lot easier. Of course, my Jeep's a right-hand drive, yours is probably not, but it doesn't matter, because on this side, being your driver's side or my passenger side, you need to have access to the panel in behind the carpet down here on the footwell. That's where the body mount for your existing transfer case bracket is, and unfortunately removal of some carpet to get in there is a bit of a necessary evil. There's the last one. And then I've got insulation in mine, so sound and heat insulation is fantastic. And then the carpet goes well, put that back in later. The next job is to remove this nut here, and then the one right up in there that you can see, and that's often easier achieved just by dropping the transfer case mechanism down 10 centimeters or so, just to be able to get your hand up. The need to put the new bracket fits in the same place, so yeah, don't get too excited when you get this one out, because you've still got to get the next one in. So we've got the just to confirm that the bracket, I've removed the old bracket that was there for the cable linkage. Of course, if your Jeep has never had any modifications done down here, you might not have this. You'll have the old Jeep linkage system, which is equally easy to pull out. So this video does apply for people who want to do this upgrade from stock, not just people who want to swap from cable to bell crank linkages. As you can see here, I marked this some time ago, T for transfer case, L for lever, and it's really just a matter of connecting the rods from there to there and from there down to there to have a solid mechanical linkage between the two rather than a cable linkage. Remember to jack your transfer case back up to the original ride height, just so that your linkage is adjusted correctly. Go. Hey, thanks for watching part 1 of the video, but you are definitely going to want to watch part 2, because not everything works out quite as smoothly as I'd hoped, and I do need to make some modifications with parts and things, so watch that.